Hello, welcome to Senior Moments, the program where we talk about all things seniors, the good, the bad, and the utterly ridiculous. I'm Susan Tomasich, and I have Monika Rose with the Manzanita Press with me today. Welcome, Monika.
Well, thanks for having me, Susan.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. So tell me a little about the Manzanita Press.
Well, we've been around since 1984. We call ourselves Writers Unlimited, a group of writers that got together and said, we need to discipline ourselves, come up with deadlines, maybe publish our work, and that's how we got started. 1984, and then 1985, we printed a little publication called The Journal, and we had Linda Torin was in it. She's one of the original members of our group. She's still around too, writing poetry, of course, poet laureate of Calaveras County. And so we have a long history. We were affiliated with the Arts Council of Calaveras for years and years and years. They were our fiscal sponsor.
Okay.
And we're very, very happy to have been aligned with the Arts Council. And then we went on our own. We started our own nonprofit in 2016. We opened up a gallery and an arts center in Angels Camp called Manzanita Arts Emporium, which we've had to close because of COVID, but we're operating as a major publisher in our region.
Okay, so if you had to close the center, how are you all working together now?
Restaurants, parks, we get together gatherings. We do have a place of business at the Volunteer Center in Calaveras County in San Andreas. But we've had to meet at our homes, and we did a lot of Zoom during COVID.
Okay, yeah. I absolutely hate Zoom and would be happy never to Zoom again, but It was a very useful tool, and it still is a useful tool for being able to bring people in remotely, and I guess I'm glad I learned how to use it. But
it was difficult for some of our programs because we've done a lot of literary programs over the years, workshops, events, presenters, authors. We just recently had the one up at Big Trees.
Okay.
With Dana Joya and Lee Herrick, who's our poet laureate, and Susan Kelly DeWitt had a wonderful poetry program up there. We are planning more, including author signings and receptions and book launches, because we have new books coming out.
Oh, nice. So where do you get your authors from?
Well, they come to us. It's word of mouth. They hear about us. I post on Facebook, let people know. We have good websites. We have a mailer of about 3,500 people, direct mail.
Okay.
So people do hear about us and hear what we're doing quite frequently, post on Instagram, etc.
Okay. So if I were an author and I wanted to get involved with Manzanita Press, what would the process be?
Well, we have a website. It's called manzapress.com, or manzanitacalifornia.org, or manzanitacalifornia.com. There's several of them. You'll find us, manzanitawriterspress.com. So when you go there, there's a place under authors and also under publishing on how to submit a proposal.
Okay.
The best way is to contact me by email.
All right.
And let me know. I'm really open to hearing people and talking to people. They can call me. So I have a phone listed, and we're happy to talk to people about initially the process and how you get started. It's really easy.
Okay. What's your email address?
And it's manzanitawp@gmail.com.
All right. And the phone number if somebody wants to call?
It's 209-728-6117.
All right. So is that a phone number that rotates to whoever gets to man the phone for that particular time period, or is it all, you leave a message?
Message.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how often are you guys checking those messages?
Oh, pretty frequently.
Okay. So if I called you today, I could probably expect a call back by tomorrow.
Sure.
It wouldn't be like 3 weeks from now. It'd be.
Email is the best.
Okay.
That's quick because I'm on the computer all the time.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah. So tell me about your background.
Oh, well, I teach at the junior college. I teach at Delta.
Okay.
And I teach English there. I've taught there for 22 years.
All right.
And as adjunct professor there. And my background, English lit, BA in English, and a master's degree in English, creative writing. And I just started writing poetry, of course, as a teenager and before. My father would often come up with songs and play on the piano, and I played the piano, and I tried to make songs. And I was always the writer for all the clubs, in high school. So if you want something written,
go to Monika.
Go to Monika, she'll write it up for you. And I love doing posters and, promotions and things like that. And so anyway, that's how it started, and I love poetry. And I'm virtually, basically a poet to start. And then I branched out into fiction. So I'm writing a couple of novels now, and short stories and essays.
Okay.
So.
And I see you brought a book that you read, you wrote. I'm sorry, you probably read it also, but you wrote.
Yeah.
And that is Bed Bumps.
Yeah, I brought River by the Glass, which is my collection of poetry over the last 20 years or so. And it's about 212 pages of poems. And that was, some of my best work is in here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. But new work coming. I have a new collection coming soon.
Okay.
And then I wrote a children's book when I was 23.
All right.
It's called Bed Bumps. And I did it for my little children, and I never sent it off. So it was sitting in the files. I did the illustrations for it.
Oh, that's nice.
I did the cover, all the illustrations.
If you're listening to this podcast and you don't have the video version of it, the book is a children's book. It's purple with yellow writing and stars and a moon on it and a little boy, and he's hiding behind his pillow, sort of, in his bed. It's really a cute cover, and it's a little bit of an oversized book. So that book is going to be a little more expensive to publish than, say, your paperback poetry book.
It really is. So if you're thinking of doing a children's book, color is very expensive. If you have photography inside your book, it's very expensive to print.
Okay.
So if you're doing print on demand and you're going through Ingram, which is a major printer distributor in the country, it's going to cost you more to do color inside. If you do a black and white novel or poetry book or something with no color, you're okay. You'll save a ton of money. So you could anywhere from $4 to $5 to $10 more per book on a print charge. Okay. So that's a big difference, plus oversizing. So if you have a big book, this one's 11 by 8.5.
Okay.
Which, it's horizontally presented. That's an oversized book. Cost you more.
Okay.
So if you have like a 6 by 9 hardcover, it's not going to cost you as much. So those are things to think about. So that's what we do as a publisher, is we help guide authors through making decisions like that. And we help them through, we don't always publish their book. We help writers with their writing support.
Okay.
So we have every first and third Mondays, we have support meetings online right now on Zoom.
Okay.
They used to be live for years, and that's how we started, with live writers meetings. But now they're on Zoom. It's much more effective because people can put up their document, and we can read. We can read as they read along aloud.
Okay.
And so it's a really important process. We have a memoir and a poetry session also on Mondays. First and third is your general, any genre review, manuscript review, and then second Monday of the month at 6:30 on Zoom is Linda Torrens leading a memoir group.
Okay.
And then the fourth Monday at 6:30 is poetry. So we also have an online platform called Ning. It's called Manzanita Writers Press Ning, which is an online closed private platform for just the members.
Okay.
And we've never been hacked or anything. It's a really safe place. People share their work.
Okay.
You can put comments on there. You can even do some minor editing, cross-outs and things like that. But it's a good support system for writers. It's totally free. Everybody's invited in our region to even beyond. We have people living in San Diego and Santa Monica who have connections to our area.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, and they're involved, and it's really a nice group, friendly group, and very kind group. Very good, kind support. I don't allow any, any riffraff. I kick them right off the group if I see, that they're negative. I've only had one I had to do that to in all these years.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so.
So if I want to become a member of Manzanita Press, what does that involve?
It just come to some of our sessions,
Okay,
and that's all you need to do. We don't charge.
okay.
Yeah.
So this group is completely volunteer and completely volunteer run.
Correct.
But there are services that I could pay for if I so choose.
Right.
Can you explain a little more about the services?
We're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 publisher, which means we keep the costs down for authors. I was appalled at hearing what's happening out there. People are getting ripped off,
Okay,
being charged like $10,000 to get 50 books or, 25 books. And the publisher keeps most of the royalties. We do not do royalties.
okay,
So what we do is we compensate the author according to what compensation the publisher would get, then we turn around and give it to the author. Also, when we have events, we promote their book, we have it available for sale, and we give those proceeds directly to the author. So we're here to support the authors. We're not
Okay.
here to make money off their books.
okay,
What we do is we keep alive, through events and workshops and donations and grants and things like that help. And our big vision is that we can get a lot of support from the community to provide scholarships and grants for people who can publish the book that they don't have, their economic means are sparse right now.
sure.
But they have a good book, and it's important to get it out. And so we are working on a program of sponsorships for authors.
Okay.
And that's our goal, to do that.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I did have an author on just a few weeks ago, and she had self-published a book. And then she went and, it was Jenny Baxter. She just published a food affair, and she published that through an actual publishing company. And she found out that self-publishing counts for nothing in the realm of official publishing world, I guess you could call it. So if you went through Manzanita Press, instead of self-publishing, you would have the cachet of having somebody else publish you, which is always
Right.
nice, that third-party recommendation.
Right.
Yes,
And
and
we-
you get all that
yep.
support.
Yeah, and we do have a good reputation. We just came out with the Farmers Market, Michelle Rugo's book.
Okay.
And this is a children's book about the farmers market in our area, and proceeds, and will be assisting the Calaveras Grown.
Oh,
I believe
nice.
is where this project originated, and a lot of photos of locals.
Okay.
So this is a really neat children's book that just came out, and Judy Creighton, the cheese lady, right? She was associated with Lavender Ridge and still is, but she's on her own. But she's came out with Cheese Loves Wine, and this is it's a pairing guide for easy and elegant appetizers. This is going to be a big hit all over the world. She's well known. She has a great clientele. There's beautiful photography in here of cheeses and pairing ideas and recipes. I mean, it's just an awesome book.
It
And it's in
sounds
color.
amazing. Yes.
So she's going to be doing a launch. We're going to be helping her launch her book September 3rd. She does have an event, I believe, end of August
Okay.
coming up, so people need to watch for her new book coming out, which is going to be one of those handbooks you have, for entertaining.
Oh, absolutely. And I am a big cheese lover because I grew up in Wisconsin, and you have to eat cheese or else you don't live there, I don't think.
You do, and she's got the history of cheese in here, which is
Oh,
nice. You
nice.
just don't have, cheese recipes. You have the history of all these cheeses, where they originated, how they're made. Cool book.
Absolutely. So I need to buy that book. Where am I going to go buy it?
You can go to our website, manzapress.com, and go to our store, and you'll see our
Okay.
books.
Oh, that's really nice.
You can purchase them there. You can go on Amazon. You can go on Barnes & Noble. However you want to get them. You can contact the author, directly.
All right.
I'm working on these two having their own web pages, but what we do is we make web pages for the authors.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So each author will have, they have their web page with a link. You can also contact the author and get their books personally.
Nice. That's actually probably what I would do because I like to have them signed, especially if they're local.
Exactly, and then we post their events, where they're going to be having their launches or their signings.
Oh, that's great. And you have to bring up that chocolate and cheese one, though, that I spied earlier.
Oh, the wine, cheese, and chocolate? Oh,
That's
my goodness.
That's it. Because chocolate and cheese, you hit two of my favorite things, the chocolate and cheese.
This was a unique kind of a book because it's writing about wine, cheese, and chocolate.
Oh, I'll be darned.
And it's romantic, much of it.
Okay.
So, and just beautiful art from our local. We also have, California authors and artists from all over California and the nation. I think we had about 30 pieces in here from outside of California. So we collected them from all over about this subject.
Okay.
And what was interesting is we have signature recipes and pictures and instructions on wine, cheese, and chocolate recipes
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
from our local restaurants. Like the
Oh,
Leger put
wonderful.
one in, Camps put one in, Rosebuds put one in, Ironstone, I believe, put one in.
Oh, what fun.
And anyway, so we even have a little article about the Candy Kitchen,
Okay, so that's Columbia.
Columbia's Candy Kitchen. Nelson's.
Nelson's. I was reaching for the name.
Yep.
I'm glad you popped it out because
Yep.
I was.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's really a cute. This was an anthology that was a community anthology, so we got some funding to do it. We ran a contest. We had some prizes in here.
Oh, and fun.
Helped fund it. We do a lot of community publications. We did The Wild Edges, which was poetry and prose of the Mother Lode and Sierra. We've done a lot of these community pieces. We did Out of the Fire, which after the Butte Fire, we teamed up with
nice.
the Pieces Project. And I don't have that book here. We did Pieces Vignettes. And Robin Maudlin and Ann Cook did that project. And that was the pieces and leftovers, from the fire that people had given to them to put together for the mosaic.
It's out in Mountain Ranch.
In Mountain Ranch in the park. And so these were larger pieces that couldn't fit there, and so we wrote about them. We got 10 writers together, and we wrote about the pieces and what they said to us.
Oh, that is amazing.
It is, and we repped that Pieces Vignettes, which was a unique piece that was funded by the Arts Council, into Out of the Fire.
Oh, I didn't even know that book was around, and I thought I was pretty familiar with the Butte and everything that happened around it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to take a look. God, I'm going to be poor by the end of this show.
Well,
I got 3 books I got to buy already.
I know, and the thing is, what happened was as we started our Manzanita Arts Emporium, we realized, the fire came right before that. I don't know what it was in me, but I needed to rebuild. I needed a feeling of starting new and and providing a place of healing for people. So we started the Manzanita Arts Emporium. We had people come in and tell their stories. We set up with the Pieces Project, a place where they could come, see the pieces, talk about them, and start to talk about their stories. At first, it was very hard. People couldn't speak about it. We had several sessions where people could get up and just share their story.
Yes.
Some did. That was heart-wrenching. I mean, I was in tears. We almost lost our place. We didn't, but I have close friends who did, and it was a frightening thing for all of us, and very devastating to our county.
Oh, absolutely.
So we wanted a healing book. We didn't want something that showed the devastation. We wanted something to show the hope.
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
We have photography by Gordon Long, and many, many people tied Childress. Things like, I don't know if you can see this, but the poppies coming up after the fire in the spring.
Yeah.
And just rebirth. And so we had people tell their stories, write some poems. And there's one poem in here by Conrad Levasseur called 45 Years of My Words Away. Imagine losing everything in all your journals that you've been writing in, your books for years. And he wrote a poem about it, so moving. But there are a lot of people represented in here. Kat Everett, who just passed, she wrote a piece in here. So anyway, that was out of the fire, and it's I think one of our most powerful pieces. And now our Voices program.
Okay.
We are putting out anthologies. These are two of them. I didn't bring the last
Can
one.
you tell me, what is the definition of an anthology?
It's a collection of people's work. So it's a group of essays or a collection of poems or short stories, but it's collected by an editor who selects these pieces, puts together that collection, and that's what these are. Our first one was Voices of Wisdom, Preserving the Memories, a Calaveras anthology. And from our program, which is Voices, we meet every Friday.
Okay.
Linda Torin is the director of the Voices program. It's seniors, 55, but we get them down to 50. But
AARP.
Exactly, because they're trending on the senior edge.
They're like tweens.
Yes, exactly. But it's a powerful group. They tell their stories, they write them down, and then we collect them for the anthology. We edit, we help them get it to a publishable form, help them with their writing strategies, and really mainly help them to discipline, to keep writing, write those stories down for your kids, for your family. It's really important.
Okay, so the anthology, since they're a collection of a number of people's stories or poetry or whatever it might be, then they're not making any money off it when they get published, but
No.
Is that a way for you to make money so that you can keep the organization going, or how does that work?
That money goes back into the next volume printing.
So then it is. It's
self-supporting.
Basically, it's supporting your next project.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Yeah.
And we have a wonderful grant from the Calaveras Community Foundation for all our Voices programs. They were the ones responsible for granting the money so we could print them, because it does cost a lot of money. And so we printed the editions, and people who were contributors got 1 or 2 copies.
Oh, that's nice.
And then they could buy gift copies at cost.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, and we do sell them to the public, and that money goes right back, it's earmarked right back for this program.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's how we do that. And then we've done, other books. Soldier by Chance, Thomas White.
Okay.
This is a Vietnam Memories. This is a very powerful collection. We worked really hard on it. And the photos and the interior design.
Now, is this all his memories, or is this...
His memories.
Okay.
His photographs.
Okay.
All his photographs. David Vassar did the design and helped him through redoing the photos and making sure that they're clear and of high quality. So there's color in here as well, color in black and white.
That must have been a really hard book for him to write. I get the people that I do know who went to Vietnam don't talk about it. So for someone to actually be able to write a book about it, I think would be very cathartic, number one, but also it has to be very difficult to put all that in writing and have to basically live through it again.
It is, and it's miraculous he had all his photographs.
Oh, that is amazing.
And I think he said he lost his camera with many more photographs, so what he has here, and this is particularly good because it gives a historical background on the gun that he was using, and he was stationed with the Marines. He was in the Army.
Okay.
And they were stationed with a Marine unit, and so anyway, it's very interesting because other people have been to Vietnam and were involved in that era. It brings back memories, especially
does.
the places. I think he was at the DMZ, and yeah, it makes it come alive. Talks about the Navy, and the main thing I think behind the book was the camaraderie, and the idea of the work world. It's not the drama of all the battles.
Okay.
It's more a day-to-day kind of an account, not a diary, but what it was like for men working together as a unit and bonding from all different backgrounds and races, and so it was an interesting book this way.
That sounds very interesting.
Well, we've done, Glenn Wasson, who has passed, Too Much to Swallow.
And what's this?
This is a collection of his essays, poems, and stories
Oh, nice.
based on our area and beyond.
Why is the cover illustrated with a big stein of beer?
There's a gold nugget
Ah.
at the bottom.
Oh, I know the story.
You know the story? Murphy's
Tell
Bar?
us, yes, tell us the story.
Murphy's Hotel Bar. Oh, if we had time, I'd read you the poem.
Okay.
Because he reenacted it for the launch of his book in the bar with the patrons not knowing what was coming, and it was packed in there, and he read the poem, and it was amazing. I can't repeat his voice. It's amazing. And he did it by heart. He didn't read anything. It was all memorized. So he also has a collection here of military. People may not know he had over 300 missions in Vietnam. He was a pilot, colonel in the Air Force, and has some military stories in here. Some funny ones.
Okay.
Anyway, poetry. It's a humorous collection.
Okay, but we still haven't told anybody the story about the
No.
nugget in the bar. You can
according to Glenn.
Okay, tell us what Glenn said.
Well, basically, there was guys in the bar, you know how they're talking and everything, and one of them says, "Hey, I got this nugget," and passes it around, and a guy drops it in his beer and drinks the beer and drinks the nugget down. And the guy wants the nugget back. I mean, it's pretty expensive. It's in the shape of a bison. It was kind of unusual. Glenn hunted down this piece, this nugget, and had it in his possession. He bought it.
Oh my goodness.
And I think who has it? I have to ask his wife, Joni, but I believe it's up at the museum at Ironstone.
Oh, okay.
They were the ones that had it. So here's a picture of the nugget in a spoon. Kind of gives you a size. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a proportion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
so the guy ended up having to go to jail and wait
did.
There until he passed the nugget, right?
Yep. I think it was 4 days.
Oh, jeez.
But
then who got to clean that off?
The way he read the story in the poet, oh my goodness, I don't know if I have time, but if I would read it for you, you would be amazed. Anyway, he did all kinds of stories, Joaquin Murrieta, Buster's Gold, Ladies of the Night,
Ooh.
Saturday Night in Valley Springs. We remember that memory with Willis, and he was drunk. He was arrested for drunk driving on a horse.
Oh, no, I did not know about that.
I think it was, Willis Hammett. I forget his last name, Hammett or something like that. That was back in the 80s or 90s, I believe. But anyway, see if I can find this. He has stories like the Quezon Potato War, things like that.
Okay.
But anyway, I wonder if I think I should read it?
If you can find it really quickly.
If I can find it quickly?
Yeah.
It should be right in the beginning.
Okay. Well, you look, and I will tell our listeners about the one time
Here
I got
it is.
on. Oh, good. I got to avoid that
Too
story.
much to swallow. I'll try to do Glenn some justice here. Try to get his voice.
All right.
Many tall tales are told in the old mother lode, from the pens of Bret Harte and Mark Twain. To this treasure of lore upon us bestowed is another I'll attempt to explain. One boisterous night in Murphy's Hotel, as the patrons lined up at the bar, an event took place too dubious to tell. 'Twas unseemly, quite gross and bizarre. This is his voice.
You're doing well, thank you.
A miner walked in with an obvious grin and ordered drinks for the roistering crowd. The bar settled down to let him begin, which he did with a manner quite proud. From out of his pocket, a nugget he'd panned was placed where everyone saw, to be fondled and hefted in every hand, an object of envy and awe. As the drinkers inquired where the miner had dug it, a patron slipped it into his beer, thinking, "I'll have me that nugget, I'll just chug-a-lug it," and with a gulp made the piece disappear. The bar room was stunned, but the miner was cool. From out of his belt came a knife, saying, "Cough up the nugget, you guzzling fool, if you want to enjoy further life." The swallower coughed and inhaled, but utterly failed to force a timely regurgence. So they slapped him in jail without any bail to wait for the nugget's emergence. A 3-day transition from mouth to emission is a well-known medical fact, or so it was said by the local physician of a normal intestinal tract. But 3 days passed by and he failed to expel, and this measurably heightened the tension. A watch was put on the prisoner's cell, now the focus of growing attention. I cannot unveil in graphic detail the nugget's final appearance. Decorum in poetry must prevail, lest we offend its cultured adherents. But it came to pass on the 7th day, when the guard heard the prisoner shout, "Unlock my cell, I'm on my way, that damnable nugget came out." The authorities gathered to examine the stool, a procedure I could not recommend. Not the normal discovery of gold as a rule, but all's well that comes out in the end.
Oh, that is absolutely hilarious.
It's a treasure.
It is. It is a hilarious poem, and it's a hilarious story. So, it's the Tales of Calaveras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we love to have this historical basis. I don't have the book with me. Jim Fletcher wrote Mark Twain's 88 Days in the Mother Lode, which was a big splash.
Okay.
And there was a film also that went with it.
Oh, I saw that film. It
Saw
was
that
good.
documentary.
Yes.
It was on PBS and everything. Yes, Mark Twain finds his voice.
Yes, that was amazing.
Joan Brown did the production, and so we really we produced the book as a companion to go with it, and
Right.
Jim Fletcher wrote it. He used to do talks, and it's a great historical book. I don't have it with me. Then also, Chance was a biography of a jockey, California jockey on the California circuit, the racing circuit. And Ted Laskin, who's passed, wrote two. We published 2 of his books. He had a 3rd one about the law. But this one, he was planning on doing this biography, and then all of a sudden he calls me. He says, "I can't believe it. The jockey fell off the horse. He was thrown off the horse, and he's paralyzed
Oh, no.
from the neck down. His career is over. What am I going to do about my book?" And I said, why don't you do kind of a history of I said, you go to all the races in California. Why don't you incorporate his biography, Chance's biography, into a little guide to the different, races, which many of these no longer exist. So this is one of those things. It's a look inside the California horse racing circuit, but also tells the story of this jockey.
Well, and Chance, what a great idea for a title, because obviously every time you get on a horse, there's a chance.
Right.
You could win or you could fall off and...
Right, the risk, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Ted was such a great guy. Anyway, here's a picture with a mule. He talked
nice.
about the mule races as well, which is interesting. So anyway, those are the kinds of things we do. Another author, Copper Dawn, was written a collection of poetry and essays by Dave Self, who's also passed. And a new one we have it's called Love Simply. It's by Doug Alberts. You guys know Phil Alberts. This is his brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful. This was designed. The book design was done by our wonderful Erin Cameron here, and so it doesn't have photos or anything in there or pictures, but it's poetry and short stories. So it's a lot of fun.
Writing must run in the Alberts family.
It does. We're working on his book right now, on Phil Albert's book. It's got a wild title. I don't want to give it out yet.
Okay.
But at first I thought, we'll call it The History of Mountain Ranch According to Phil, because there's some stretching going on there. But but I think he's got another name for it, but
All right.
it's going to be a wonderful book. And then this is a poetry book by Kevin Arnold, and we did a novel by him called Sureness of Horses. And one of our favorites, Don Urbanis, you guys might know him. He had Rising Sun Nursery, and he writes for the paper.
Oh, okay.
He does editorial pieces, and anyway, he put out Darn Weeds, and it's about the nursery. It's a kind of wild, wacky stories, and at the back he's got funny things that customers have said coming in,
nice.
and he collected those. And then we've got a series of novels. This is a kind Steve Finley Archer did a story about the clans, the Irish clans.
Okay.
And he's got the 8 novels planned. So we're on number 6 right now. Number 6 is
But
coming
that one
out.
says book 1 of 4.
Yeah, I know, and
It got grew.
we
It grew.
changed. Yeah,
It grew.
we changed it. It was started with 1 of 4. This is the first version.
Okay.
And then we've changed it since 1 of 8.
Wow.
And,
All right.
and so it's a saga of 2 families, 2 Irish families that meet and join, and they were rivals, and anyway, it's real interesting to see the history of the Irish Revolution. You know.
Okay. And where does the book take place?
Ireland and Canada and the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of like Ken Follett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So how many books does the Manzanita Press
Oh my gosh,
produce?
40 something. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
So let's kind of go back to the if I'm a writer question.
Mm-hmm.
So I come to you, I have a book, I'm going to write a book about rabbits because I raised them.
Okay.
And I have a little rabbit. I actually had a little rabbit. He was paralyzed. He was born paralyzed. So I made him a little skateboard. So my book's going to be about this little paralyzed rabbit that runs around on his little skateboard.
Oh, I love it.
So how do you help me bring that from an idea to publication?
Well, first I would take a look at if you're illustrating yourself,
Okay.
if you're taking your photos. I would ask you to collect your photos or if you're taking photos, this is really, really important, is that you keep the original resolution high on your photos.
All right.
Because a lot of times people will send photos off and emails and everything, and then they're reduced in size, or they send a text. If you send a text, it'll reduce that image very much, and you can't
Yes.
use that in a book. Same thing with a newspaper press release. So
Okay.
you want to keep those original photos in a folder, the originals, and they want to be high resolution, so you set your camera, you set your phone, so that you have at least 300 DPI, but higher than that if you can.
Okay, and
So-
tell people what DPI is?
Dots per inch, and
Okay.
it's a higher resolution, and size also matters on your photos. So, you know, if you got a tiny little photo and you've printed it out and you want to take a picture of that, you know,
Okay.
you could take a picture of an artwork that you've done and keep it at a high resolution and use that artwork. So you want to keep that very high resolution.
Okay.
Like 1200, I would say, is how you should keep it,
Sure.
but 300 is the minimum.
Okay.
Okay, and then at least 5x7 size.
All right.
If you have 5x7, keep it at that size is good.
Okay.
So you can take a picture of, say, an 8.5 by 11 artwork, or, you know, an entity, and that'll keep it kind of large
Okay.
that way. So that's the problem we had both with Judy and with Michelle Rugo, is getting the best quality photos that you can,
Okay.
because you can't see. So this is, you know, this is a nice quality photo.
Okay. So now I've got photos. I've set them aside.
Mhm.
I've got.
You've got
I'm
text.
just going to say text. Okay, good. And I have a draft.
Mhm.
So now, do I have to pay for an editor, or do I just? How
Yeah.
do I handle that?
You do, and what happens is we review your project
Okay.
and say, we're going to let you know pretty much how much it would cost you to do it, because we don't have the funding to carry all of the authors. But in the future, we'd like to have sponsors and donors and grants that will provide that,
Okay.
because the production cost, you might go anywhere from $600 to maybe $1,500 on design work.
All right.
So the layout designer, she charges X amount, and we keep our fees low for that.
Okay.
She gives a discount, a big
Oh,
discount.
nice.
And then editing can go anywhere from $200, where there's not a whole lot to do.
Sure.
You've taken it through Grammarly or some other editing program. You've used word tools to help you
Sure.
fix your errors. And the minimal errors, minimal approach would be the 200 editing fee.
Okay.
It could go as much as, $2,500 for editing. If you have a 400-page book and it needs a lot of work, I mean, you have to fix every sentence.
Right.
So you have different kinds of editors.
Okay.
You have your copy editing that just fixes your grammar.
All right.
You have your content editing, where I'll move things around, or I'll say, we need to add more to this chapter. You need this scene, and I give you suggestions. I actually can rewrite for you.
Okay.
So, and then you have developmental. Okay, so that's how your structure of your piece, and
Okay.
are you going to have a series? Are you preparing for that in your first book? Those kinds of things.
Okay.
So initially you put a deposit down of like $300 because we have a press fee as well.
Okay.
And so $300, that holds your project, and we take a look at it. We'll give you advice already,
All right.
and we'll already start editing. And we
Oh,
give
nice.
it back to you. You can decide to go with us, and that $300 is part of the project. You've already paid.
Okay.
But all that work we put in, for editing, we're not doing a full edit, but we're giving you a lot of work already up front.
Okay.
And so that $300 covers that, and then you can decide to go with us after we give you the pricing and everything, and then
Okay.
we're ready to go, and we put you in the queue and the line of where our projects are falling. We give you an idea. Sometimes that's kind of gray area because you don't know what's going on out there in the publishing world. It takes X amount of time to get things through a draft, and to be approved through Ingram and all
Okay.
of that. So anyway, that's kind of the process. We have
All right.
editors. We're actually in need of more editors right now.
Okay.
Our goal, because we're all getting older, is to train a young group of people who want to make a living out of this. So
I think that's a great goal, and I was actually going to make a comment that there's a lot of those books that you also had the tagline and so has passed. So it sounds
Right.
like you need to get some more so-and-sos that are going to come into the fold here.
we need editors and Aaron's, helping with designing and all of that. He's young, but we'd like people to come forward. We need media people who can promote us.
Okay.
And editors would be great. Young people who want to actually take this corporation. We need an executive director
All right.
and want to make a living out of it.
That
And
sounds like a really worthy goal.
and you could do that. So many of the books we charged the editing fee, but it went back into the business.
Okay.
Okay, and I didn't take a fee for it.
All
So,
right.
but you have to take a percentage of it, and so.
Right.
But other than that, editors can make a really good income out of this if they wanted to run with it.
That sounds like a great idea, and I think also then, if I were going to write a book and I would attend via Zoom one of your meetings, I could reduce the amount of editing by
Definitely.
participating in the free help that everybody's giving each other, and I'm going to call it a round table, looking at each other's work, so that when you do get to the point where you want to publish it and actually put it in front of a, quote, editor, a professional editor, you've already got a lot of that
Right.
input that you've been able to address.
Right. We're going to
Yeah.
come out with a new novel by Don, and he's been working every chapter through our system.
Oh, wonderful.
So, he attends regularly, and the idea is that you have 5 pages to 10 pages, and you share that and put it up. You get a good idea of how to fix your other chapters as well,
Oh, nice.
because you find out where the weak parts are, and you can generalize for the rest of your book.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. It really helps to have, I don't think it's just writers. I think any creative endeavor, it really helps to have another set of eyes that someone else can look at what you're doing and give you another perspective. I find that really helpful in the things that I do. So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the next book I have coming out in the fall is called The Call, A Moth Journey.
Okay.
And it's, right now we have a need for grades 4 through 6. This is throughout the country. There's a need for grades 4 through 6 children's books. So if anybody's out there writing a children's book for that grade level, for that age level, you need to get going on it, because there's a need, there's a lack of addressing that grade level, those grade levels.
Do you have any idea why?
I'm not sure. I could research it a little bit more, but I think that early readers, this is an early reader, Bed Bumps, Illustrated. I think maybe people don't know how to address that age group. You know, there's YA and teenagers and
Sure.
they're avid readers, but you know, your 4th through 6th graders are avid readers, but it's a kind of a mystery, you know, but there is a need right now. So this Moth book is, and here's one thing I would say about the press is we're family oriented.
Okay.
So I don't take on projects that are super controversial. I just want to put it that way, and we're very also spiritual, I want to say, in some ways, not the press as a whole, but I think the kinds of works we do, we want to give a positive view on life.
I think that's important.
We don't want to bring anyway, our books are uplifting. I try to make them, try to pick books that are uplifting and useful and historical and cultural.
Right.
So anyway, that's kind of where we are. And so the Moth book coming out, the idea is to, there's a lesson in it. So basically, there's a couple of moths, and these are Luna moths.
Okay.
And they're listening to something told by a matronly moth, and they're all gathered around the lamplight under a porch light. And these two moths, Luna moths, are out on a limb, and they're listening to the matron moth tell warnings about how moths try to do things, and it's very dangerous out there, right?
Okay.
And so the male moth sees the moon, and he has this desire. I don't want to hang out this porch light. I want the moon. I like that big light. I want to go there.
Uh-huh.
And the female moth tries to convince him not to go. Remember those times where you went, in the street light and bumped your head and that kind of thing. So there's all these warnings, but this moth wants, and the word is desire.
Uh-huh.
And so desire can be dangerous.
Yes, it can.
And we know how headlong and enthusiastic youth are, and they rush into things without thinking. So it's a cautionary tale.
All right.
At the same time, it's documenting the beginnings and the stirrings of passion in young people.
Okay.
And there's a nice ending. It's scary a little bit, where the moth does fly toward the moon, and it's kind of scary in that part. But anyway.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Has a good ending.
Yeah. So we are a little short on time. So why don't we give everybody the phone number again and your website?
Website is Manza Press, MANZA Press.com.
Okay.
Or you can go manzanitacalifornia.org or manzanitawriterspress.com. Find us there. Our phone number is 209-728-6117. And then email is the best way to get to me, manzanitawp@gmail.com. And we have board members that are also in our group. They run the show besides me.
Okay.
And we have a wonderful treasurer, Jackie Rogers, our secretary, Patty Grant, Vice President Mary Sexton, Susan Barrich is our grant director, Donna Urbanis is our events director, and Starlin Patrick, she's our director who goes out and places our books in museums and stores and things like that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really great. That's a wonderful.
We have Linda Torin also. She's the director of Voices of Wisdom, And I think I'm missing one person that I can't off the top of my head, but we're listed on the website.
All right. Well, Manzanita Press sounds like an absolutely wonderful organization. I'm so glad you came today and talked about it, because honestly, until I've talked to you today, I really didn't know a lot about it, and I suspect I'm going to be hitting you guys up here.
Well, I hope so, and hope people can just be inspired, I think, by their own talents and know they have a story to tell. Everybody has a talent in that, and that's what I believe. That you have a unique story to tell from your life and your experiences, like no one else can tell that story. Only you can.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for listening today, wherever you pick up your podcasts, and I look forward to having you join us again.